Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. Appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. Here's what we got. We have a fun-filled Phillies weekend. Completed the sweep of the Cardinals. If you didn't see the Jake and Media Fighting's post-game show with yours truly, nice to see you again. If you didn't see it, my main takeaway from this weekend is that we're going to go into the workplace this week. We're going to talk to friends, family. We're going to talk to people that are Phillies fans. We're going to talk to people that aren't Phillies fans. And we're going to talk to some naysayers in those groups. There's going to be people that are going to be the fun police. Like, it was only the Cardinals. That's what they're going to say. Okay, it was only the Cardinals. Cardinals have a top 10 offense in the National League. They have one of the best offenses in the National League. And what was the concern going into this series? Was the concern that your offense was going to struggle? No, that wasn't the concern. The pitching for the Cardinals has been terrible. So the offense did exactly what they were supposed to do. The arms, the pitchers for the Philadelphia Phillies, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, most notably. Those are the guys that we're going to have to show up in this series. Those are the guys we wanted to see pitch well in this series. Those are the guys we wanted to see ace quality stuff. And what do we get? Oh, we got ace quality stuff from Zach Wheeler. And yesterday, we got absolute ace quality stuff from Aaron Nola. 19 strikeouts over the two starts of those two pitchers. I love to see it. 7 innings of work for both pitchers. I love to see it. And Aaron Nola was just flat out dominant yesterday. 1 hit, 1 walk. And by the way, I take full responsibility for the walk. It was my fault. I take full responsibility for the walk because I was literally going into that 5th inning. And what happened in that? Contreras. Okay, so he gets Contreras to pop out to first base. And I'm just thinking to myself, and I was like, has he even walked the guy? Has Aaron Nola even walked the guy yet? So beep, pop, I pulled up on my phone. I was looking at the play-by-play, looking at my notes. And I'm like, yeah, my notes are right. He hasn't even walked the guy. Boom, next batter, Gorman walks. So I jinxed it. I take full responsibility. I got to put my curiosity in a better position to help the team. So that was on me. But yesterday, Aaron Nola was absolutely dominant. And my huge takeaway now that we have finished the weekend and we saw Zach Wheeler dominate, we saw Aaron Nola pitch extremely well, and now it's the first time. Now listen to this. His last 2 starts, it's the first time Aaron Nola this season in back-to-back starts has gone at least 7 innings and allowed no more than 2 earned runs in a start. It's the first time this season that he's done that. Put back-to-back starts together where he's gone at least 7 innings and allowed no more than 2 earned runs. Yesterday, obviously, 7 shutout innings from Aaron Nola. Last year, that was pretty much the month of June. Of his 5 starts in June last year, he had, I think, 4 of his starts were 7 innings and no more than 2 earned runs. So that was like ace dominant Cy Young stuff, okay, in the month of June. But now, looking at it, finish up the month of August. Here's the most gleeful thing I can take away from the weekend with your beloved Philadelphia Phillies. The most gleeful thing I could take away from it. Your offense has been great all year. All right, Kyle Schwarber is another 45 home run season. Okay, I'll take it. 46 home run season. Okay, he's at 36 now. First pitch home run yesterday, as we know. Nick Castellanos, he's at 22 home runs now. Alec Boehm has 14 home runs on the season. This Phillies offense is, and 14 home runs isn't a brag, but for Alec Boehm, it's a career high. But this offense was going to be fine. This offense is fine. I'm happy with this offense. But the question is whether or not your pitching is really going to help you deliver some playoff wins. Not just make the playoffs anymore, but some more playoff wins. Another World Series run at least. So, this one maybe where they win it. That'd be cool too. But the pitching has been the question mark. Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, the consistency there. Was that going to be there when you needed it most in the postseason? Well, my huge takeaway is that if Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler are rediscovering their ace quality stuff again, like we got to experience through most of last year, both of them playing at top of their game, if both of them are finishing up the season with ace quality stuff, the wild card is locked up. We'll get to the standings in a second, but the wild card is locked up, and another World Series berth is locked up as well. That's how I feel. When you look at this team right now, and you see the way these two guys have been pitching over the last 2 starts, and Zach Wheeler got shelled in the first inning against the Nationals, then went up for 6 scoreless, and then 7 scoreless, or excuse me, 7 7 innings in his last start, dominant baseball again. That's beautiful. That's what you need to see. That's what this team needs. So I'm just saying, if this is the start of Wheeler and Nola figuring it out again in terms of having that consistency, wild card is locked up, playoff berth is locked up, and a World Series run is at hand for the Phillies. If you have those two guys dominant and you have a lineup that has been mashing, then this Phillies team is going to be just fine. And I wouldn't have thought about that in April. I wouldn't have thought about it in May. But in June, where the Phillies have been one of the best teams in baseball since June 2nd, that's only the expectation. That's only where we're starting out the conversation. So I thought about it. If this is what we're going to get from these guys going forward, if they're cracking the code of consistency, finally, even if it took the first 5 months of the season, as long as they figured it out by September and the team was at least not even just in a wild card, but just in wild card contention. Let's say there are any of these other teams. Here, I'll put it up for you right now. Okay, here's where we're at right now. Phillies 3.5 games up on the rest of the pack. The Chicago Cubs are a half game into the second wild card spot. The Diamondbacks now occupy the third wild card spot. Giants all of a sudden a game and a half out. Reds a game and a half out. Marlins 3 games out. Come on. And then the Padres there at 8 games out. But even if the Phillies were in contention here, like a game and a half out, and the Phillies starting pitching, started to finally figure this out with that consistency, then I'd be like, yeah, September, yeah, they're going to make the playoff, but they're going to be in a wild card. But look at them. They already got a 3.5 game lead. They got a 3-game lead on the Cubs for the top spot in the wild card. This is beautiful. This is nothing short of spectacular. And that's where we're at right now with your Philadelphia Phillies. Now, usually during the start of the show, I do a preview of the whole show. I just kind of went right into the Phillies there. Okay. We're going to break down the Phillies a little bit more, and we'll talk about yesterday's game a little bit more. But we do have a couple of interesting things here with the Eagles. Of course, they wrapped up preseason last week, as we know. Yesterday, Brandon Graham, James Bradbury, and Dallas Goedert addressed the media. Devontae Smith addressed the media as well. Did you hear this sleep pattern of Devontae Smith? Have you heard about this? The man sleeps 4 hours. The man sleeps 4 hours. It was one of the more awkward exchanges during a press conference I ever heard, because you're literally asking a player when he sleeps and what he's doing when he's not sleeping. Okay? It was, I believe the question was asked by Zach Berman, where Devontae Smith revealed on a podcast that he only sleeps 4 hours a night. Now, they asked the question early in the press conference, and then it kind of lingered there for a minute. And then somebody went, about those 4 hours of sleep, what are you doing to occupy? Like, most people sleep 8 hours. I think it was Tim McManus. Most people occupy their sleep, 8 hours a night. What are you doing during the 4 hours? He's like, depends on the day. And it's like, are you literally prying this man's personal life about what he's doing to not sleep? Then he did reveal he does take naps throughout the day. But a lot of times, sometimes he's just too busy. He doesn't have time to nap. And then only sleep 4 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of nights. I'll just say this. And I am not a professional athlete where I only sleep 4 hours. There's probably a lot of nights where you only sleep 4 hours. I'm going to go ahead and venture to guess that you and we're not professional athletes. Okay? Was it Jim Harbaugh that said sleep is the greatest steroid? Okay. You know what the greatest steroid is? Sleep. And a professional athlete only sleeping 4. To sit and talk with you guys for an hour on only 4 hours of sleep, that's like, oh man, okay, let me psych myself up. Let me have my espresso, of course, that I talk about often. Let me get ready to go. That's my performance enhancing drug. It's espresso. But I couldn't imagine going out there on a practice field and running around, even if you're not hitting, even if it's a light practice, you're still running around. Oh, man, 4 hours of sleep. Oh, God. And then it's like weight room, and then it's physical therapy, and then you got to sit in a meeting room and pay attention. What? 4 hours of sleep. Again, he did reveal, Devontae Smith, he did reveal that he does take naps, but sometimes he doesn't have time for them naps. And when he was asked, hey, what do you do to occupy the other 4 hours? He was like, stuff. He didn't say like video games, He didn't say, well, I'm out clubbing, obviously. No. But that was a really interesting thing. on the more prevalent to football, more relevant to football, James Bradbury talked about playing in the slot. We'll get to that. And we'll also get into Brandon Graham saying yesterday when he was asked a question about his 14th season, going into his 14th season, what makes you keep coming back? There's two things that he talked about that I think it's the most perfect way to answer the question when you're talking about a 35-year-old veteran literally coming off his, statistically speaking, best season. So we'll get into that conversation with Brandon Graham. And then, just to ruin everybody's morning, just because I like messing with people, we're going to hear the voice of Jerry Jones as the Dallas Cowboys. And Jerry Jones said yesterday, after they traded for Trey Lance, Trey Lance is now the backup quarterback for now in Dallas. They made a trade last night, sending a mid-round pick over there to the 49ers to get Trey Lance. It's a beautiful league. And Jerry Jones said during that press conference that they actually had their eyes on Jalen Hurts. In 2020, in old 2020, the year our heads exploded, after Carson Wentz just got all that money, the Eagles went ahead and drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. Jerry Jones said that if Jalen Hurts fell to the Cowboys, they were going to draft Jalen Hurts. We'll dissect that coming up in just a little bit. But let's start this thing off by talking a little bit more about that Phillies baseball team, okay? Yesterday's game meant a lot. You're supposed to beat the Cardinals. You're supposed to sweep the Cardinals. Now, as I mentioned, the Cardinals have a very potent offense. All you got to talk about is Nola and Arenado. You can talk about Paul Goldschmidt and what those guys in the middle of that lineup are able to do for St. Louis. So watching this series, I was watching for one thing, and that was what the starting pitching was going to do. Watching what you were going to get from Aaron Nola, watching what you were going to get from Zach Wheeler. And those guys were fantastic. The lineup scoring 7 runs, having themselves a time on Saturday. The lineup going out there on Friday and absolutely dominating. The lineup going out there yesterday and getting the job done, starting off with a bang by Kyle Schwarber, and then getting a sac fly RBI and then an RBI single there from Bryce Harper late in the game. They made runs happen, and that's all they needed. All they really needed was a Kyle Schwarber first pitch home run that went 436 feet off the batter's eye in dead center field into the top of the shrubbery in center field. That's all they needed. They still added on, which was good. They still took advantage of some opportunities, which was great. But with Nola's pitching yesterday, and the thing that was so great was the velocity on his fastball was fantastic for Aaron Nola's standard, 94, 95 miles per hour. He was going out there with that knuckle curveball, and he was dropping that in for strikes consistently. His changeup was working well yesterday. He was on point. This is – we talked about it a lot with Trey Turner in terms of the guy that they signed at $300 million. This is the guy that they signed, the guy that's playing right now. We've said that a lot. But with Aaron Nola, this is the guy that we have seen with ace quality stuff in his Phillies career. Although inconsistent year to year, this year has been mostly down. Not a good year for Aaron Nola. But yesterday, everything was working for him. Second inning of Saturday's game was Zach Wheeler. Second inning of Saturday's game was Zach Wheeler. He struck out the side. And that let us know that he was pretty much going to be on cruise control for that game. Second inning of yesterday's game, Aaron Nola goes out there and not only strikes out the side, but his final 2 strikeouts are looking. So 2 of the 3 strikeouts there in the second inning were looking. Fastballs at the knees that just left the batter confused. It was Gorman first, and it was Walker second. He got Walker twice looking in this game. Of his 9 strikeouts, 5 of them were caught looking. All right, they're old backwards Ks in the scorebook. 5 of them. And they were legit. Malachi Moore, the home plate umpire yesterday, I thought did a very good job throughout the game. And again, I have a conspiracy theory that the umps are doing something because they're trying to prevent robo-umps. But anyway, I'll get into that later. Wild conspiracy theory. But Malachi Moore, I thought, had a very good game yesterday behind the plate. These weren't like awful calls where it was like way outside and the batters were like, oh, how do you call that a strike? And they were like, well, you just got pantsed in front of 45,000 strong at Citizens Bank Park. I'll just mosey on back to the dugout. Fastballs at the knees, knuckle curves, drop it in brilliantly. The four-seam fastball had a lot of life and movement on it. That was great. Watching Aaron Nola yesterday was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And if we could consistently see that from him, then yes. And consistently see what we have seen recently from Zach Wheeler. then the like I said, the wild card is locked up. I do think this matters. Saturday night at the start of the game Saturday night's game. I had a house full of people. It was my daughter's. I think it was her fourth birthday party. She asked me, "Hey, Daddy, when's my next birthday party?" She turned 4 on August 9th. And I said, well, it's funny you asked that, sweetheart. It's a year from now. That's your next birthday party. You don't just keep having birthdays for like the rest of the year. But she's disappointed in that answer. So I had a house full of people. And I turned the game on, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching it. And literally at the start of the game, I see Bryce Harper in the dugout. And it's a Fox game. And I see Bryce Harper in the dugout. And then I see him look at a teammate, and he goes, "Oh yeah, like oh right now, like now's the time to do something." And then he walks over, and it turns out it's Garrett Stubbs, and they did the European 2 kisses on both cheeks. And I just hadn't seen that. I think I saw it in hockey. You know who done? I think Ivan Rodriguez. I forget who Pudge Rodriguez used to do it with. But he used to do that when it was with the Marlins. They do the 2 kisses, right? In Italian, you call it the due baci, right? 2 kisses. And I was like, what the hell was that? I've never seen that before. All right. And then I thought, you know what? The Eagles are always talking about their team chemistry and how much they love each other. And the Phillies are like, oh, yeah, hold my beer. We do the due baci. We do the 2 kisses, baby. And I'm like, all right, that's new, but that's different than a handshake. And then they go out there, and then Bryce Harper continues to bash. And Garrett Stubbs helps his team win. And I'm like, this team loves each other. And that's the kind of chemistry you want in a clubhouse. And then you got the daycare kids. You got the daycare club, obviously, doing their little funsies at the end of every game, getting whoever's the star of the game with little snacks, little cups of water, whatever it might be. This Phillies team is having so much fun together. And I thoroughly believe, more so than any sport, mostly because solely because of the grind that is a 162-game season. If you're having fun in baseball, you're winning. And now you could say in other sports you're winning. It translates, right? But in baseball, it seems like more than any other sport, because of the grind that it is. If you're not having fun, you ain't winning. Nobody's showing up at the ballpark, going through the motions and winning. You have to make sure you have to be having fun together. There has to be a relaxed nature to it. And also because it's such a precise sport that you talk about centimeters mattering that much when it comes to the Phillies and when it comes to this ball club, it comes to baseball and hitting and all that stuff. You're talking about precision. That little bit of confidence, that little bit of relaxed attitude, that little bit of a fun environment, that goes miles. I'll give you the perfect example. Ready? Under Joe Girardi, no fun. Under Rob Thompson, a lot of fun. Under Joe Girardi, no playoffs. Under Rob Thompson, one of the most epic turnarounds in franchise history and a trip to the World Series. Okay, I think fun matters. And this Phillies team is having fun together. Whether it's Due Baci, or whether you learned a phrase thing, or it's the daycare club. This team's having fun together, and it really is showing. Now, it matters, but it's not everything. It matters, but it's not everything. What ultimately matters is, yes, if your team sucks, also you're not having fun. So this team is a good baseball team. This team is a playoff baseball team. This team has guys like Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, who we have consistently waited, or who we have waited for to find that groove. And if this is them hitting their stride, you could talk about another World Series trip. This lineup and Kyle Schwarber at the top of the order. Look, the first pitch home runs are fine. They're awesome. Start out just like that. That's what Rob Thompson wants, as we've talked about a million times. That's why Kyle Schwarber remains in the leadoff spot, because the pitcher has to go to bed the night before, no ease in the face. Kyle Schwarber first thing, which is fine. And Rom last night, starting out that game, second career start, knowing he's got to face Kyle Schwarber, probably wasn't the greatest feeling in the world going into it, but Schwarber said, nice to meet you, with a 436-foot home run. The on-base percentage for Kyle Schwarber, and this is the argument that a lot of people have gotten into, but I hate the stance that batting average doesn't matter. I just think that is so dumb. And yes, it's great to not make outs. Obviously, that's fantastic. And if everyone has a fantastic on-base percentage and everybody is not making outs, then you're going to score a lot of runs. So, yes, that is a very simple philosophy. But to say that batting average doesn't matter, it's stupid. That thought is a stupid thought. It absolutely matters. Now, there are points in the lineup where it matters more than other points in the lineup. There are spots in the lineup where it matters more. Leadoff hitter, if you got an on-base percentage of 336, I'm all in, man. Love it. Not making outs, I'm fine with that. Your batting average is 189 to 180. That's pretty terrible. But the batting average doesn't matter nearly at the leadoff spot as much as it does when you're talking about the middle of the order where you're paid to drive in runs, where your job, forget about the money for a second, but where your job is to drive in runs. So if Kyle Schwarber is hitting better when he is not the leading off an inning, I'll put it like that, then that's gravy. But if you start out the game by getting on base, drawing walks, hitting home runs, then he's hoping your team win. Now, I would still love to see somebody else in that spot, but the Phillies are winning. For whatever reason, it's working. And yes, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. But him at the leadoff spot with a 336 on-base percentage, that defines why you can stay at the leadoff spot. The fact that the team is winning as well is the most important thing. But when you talk about on-base percentage, you better be at the top of the order if you have a crap average, but you have a good on-base percentage. That's where I can justify it. Everywhere else, you better be driving in runs. You don't do that with walks. You do that with hits. And that's why, I mean, it's a very simple argument. And it's a common one, but it's very simple. Why does batting average still matter? Well, because you're not driving in a run from second base by walking to first. You know what you're doing? You're setting up a double play. And if there's already one out in the inning, the percentage goes much higher in terms of a pitcher and a defense, the fielding team being able to get out of that inning without being scathed. So it absolutely freaking matters. Now, it matters more in other spots than it matters in others. Middle of the lineup is certainly one of them. 3-hole hitter, 4-hole hitter, 5-hole hitter. You better be hitting the baseball. And Kyle Schwarber is a shouting example of that. So 336 on base percentage, I'll take that at the top of the order. If you tell me my guy's hitting 330 or getting on base at a 336 clip, then I'm happy with it. But Schwarber yesterday led off the game with the boom that we all love so much. And seeing him hit his 36 home run of the season, seeing him on pace now, I think it's for 45 home runs this season. 44? Didn't think that was going to happen early in the year. And then June happened. Nick Castellanos hit another long ball over the weekend. Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh. That, what was it, 6-run? What inning was it they had the 6 runs in? These are both new legal pads. What the hell am I doing? Yeah, the 7th inning. 6-run 7th inning on Saturday was fantastic. God, I can't get over Zach Wheeler yesterday or Saturday and how great that was. And then yesterday, Nola. It's just, that's the takeaway. 1,000% that's the takeaway. You know what is funny? And I don't know, maybe it's because I look for personality so often, but Aaron Nola, after one of his best starts of the season, just, oh yeah, we're just trying to help everybody win. It's like, what do I expect? Cartwheels? But that's just his personality. Anyway, Phillies now start a series with the Angels tonight, 6:40 start time. So we'll follow the bouncy ball as far as all that goes. Let's get into the Eagles. All right. So far of the cuts that they have made, the only one that has really jumped out to me and going, oh, no way, was Dennis Kelly. I knew it wasn't a lock that he was going to make it in. I thought Dennis Kelly was going to make it in. I thought he could be a very versatile offensive lineman. He has been a versatile offensive lineman in his career. He's played tackle. He's played guard. He's done it all. But they decided to move on from Dennis Kelly. So we'll see what the future holds for him. But as of right now, those are the things that have jumped out to me. That's the only thing that jumped out to me so far about the cuts or waive that has happened. Tyree Jackson, we'll see what his future holds in Philadelphia, but he was also waived. So we'll see where he ends up in the not too distant future. But yesterday, I was watching the press conferences for the Philadelphia Eagles, and Brandon Graham is a guy that we all know and love. and we've watched him for a long time here in Philadelphia. He's going into his 14th NFL season, 35 years old, and coming off his first double-digit sack season of his career. We all know the history of the strip sack and the Super Bowl. We all know Brandon Graham's history, bust to a guy that's just now beloved in the city of Philadelphia. Always kept the right attitude, and I think a lot of athletes that not just come through Philadelphia, but a lot of athletes in general that might get that bust label early on in their careers, they can learn a lot from a guy like Brandon Graham. So Brandon Graham was asked yesterday, what makes him keep coming back? What comes to mind when you think about coming back for a 14th NFL season? Why? Basically the question. What do you look forward to in season number 14? Here's what BG had to say.
Sacking that quarterback, being able to get to the quarterback, because if I couldn't get there, man, I'm definitely not going to be playing no more. But I think that just the boys, the guys, man, the team that we have right now, so lucky, so fortunate to be on this team because year 14, it could be a bad team I'm a part of. I mean, it's just – you just never know with the years. As the years been going for me, I know for me, these last 2 years, man, it's been great. So I'm just trying to take full advantage of it, trying to make sure that I invest all the time I can into the young guys, because I know in those moments where it get tough, I'm going to need them guys to rise up in the moments. And I think them guys embracing, especially like Jalen and Nolan and, those rookies coming in that we going to need that came in early. And so I'm just excited, man, because we got a really good team, and we gonna get to show it week 1.
Two things he talked about there that really jumped out. Okay, one was his own, personal enjoyment of sacking the quarterback. We're looking forward to about year 14, sacking the quarterback. His own, the personal jubilation of getting the job done, as Nola Smith talked about 2 weeks ago, finishing the play. Finishing the play. That's what he looks forward to. After that, he talked about his legacy. When he talks about Nolan Smith, and he talks about Jalen Carter, and he's talking about coaching those guys up, he's talking about helping those guys out on the defense, he's talking about all the rookies. When he's talking about that, he's talking about his legacy. What is he going to leave behind? I mean, look, when you go on Football Reference and look up Brandon Graham, that's going to be one thing, okay? But then years after he's done, a decade maybe after he's done, and we're still watching Nolan Smith, we're still watching Jalen Carter playing for the Philadelphia Eagles team, they're going to be a part of Brandon Graham's legacy. Those guys, Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith especially, are going to remember Brandon Graham there. Oh, our rookie year, we had Brandon Graham, man. When they're the veterans on this team, when they are the keepers of the culture in South Philadelphia at the NovaCare Complex, you know who they're going to be thinking about? They're going to be thinking about Brandon Graham. Oh, we came in the league, man. We had BG here. He established the culture here. He really helped us with the culture. We had Fletcher Cox here, man. He established the culture. He really coached us up. He took us in. We got to do that for the young guys that are coming in here. That's the legacy of this team. Whether it was Hugh Douglas, my man, whether it was Trent Cole, whoever it might have been, there's always been this passing of the torch. Whenever you have a good culture, you want to keep it going for as long as humanly possible. Jason Babbitt, not so much. But other guys, you want to see that culture just brewed here in Philadelphia. And when he's asked about year 14, and he starts out by talking about getting a sack, great. That everyone understands that. But then to go into the idea that I know I don't have that much time left. This might even be it. So I want to make sure that the young guys in this team are going to continue the legacy and the culture established here in Philadelphia. The fact that he's spending time with these guys as much as he is. One of the things they also asked him in the press conference, they went on to ask him about Howie Roseman talking to him before the draft, saying, we could be bringing in some young defensive guys, and obviously we have you here, and we'd like you to be a part of that. Brandon Graham's like, no conversation really like that happened. It's just expected. You don't need to prompt him. You don't need to prep him for, hey, you're going to be a good guy to these new guys, right? Actually, no, I was thinking about being a jerk. I was thinking of never talking to him, cold shoulder. You have to earn my respect. No, man, put his arm around him from the get-go. They talked about the comparisons between Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham. They talked about that with BG yesterday. And he's just like, look, I tell him to be him. You got to be your own guy. If we have certain characteristics and certain things about our personality that are very similar, then so be it. But you got to be your own guy. Any name that gets brought up, whether it's how he plays like Hassan Reddick or how he acts like Brandon Graham, fine. But you be you. You be you. We'll be here to help coach you up and bring you along and let you get to know the NFL. But as of right now, you just have to be your own guy. And you have to put in the work. He talked about Jalen Carter as well. Talked about how he loves the idea of him being a baby rhino. He said that's exactly what he is. And he goes, everything is right there. Everything is right there for Jalen Carter when it comes to being that young rhino, that baby rhino. For a great career is just sitting there for the taking in front of Jalen Carter. He said, look, he can have it right now, but then he can even take it to the next level. If he continues to dedicate himself to the sport, if he continues to show the work ethic that he has shown so far through training camp and the preseason, then this guy is going to be making noise for a long time in the NFL. It's not just going to be some flash in the pan. Same thing with Nolan Smith and what he could bring to the table for this team. And getting that from a veteran like Brandon Graham yesterday, it was music to my ears. Because those guys, they're not going to come out and say like, oh, no, Jalen Carter sucks, or Nolan Smith needs to study the playbook more. No, it's not like that. That's not going to happen. But when they go on and on and on about how much they love these young guys and the dedication the young guys are showing, that lets you know it's real. It's not just nothing to see here. Don't pay attention. This guy's not working hard. I love to hear that kind of dedication and work ethic and hearing it from Brandon Graham. The other thing that they got into yesterday with BG, BG, in talking to Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, they're both like, the NFL is easier. Like, as far as to this point, now they haven't played a game yet, a real one, not just preseason. They haven't played week 1 yet in the NFL. Okay, they haven't got that first game of the regular season under their belt yet. But so this is within context, and it's important to give context here. Training camp and preseason has been easier than Georgia. Easier than Georgia. I remember talking to Kobe Dean last year when we did those Sky Drive episodes with our friends at Sky Motor Cars, driving Kobe Dean around. We were talking about it, and he's just like, I don't have to be a student athlete anymore. I could just be an athlete. And for a guy like Kobe Dean, mechanical engineering, and also winning a national championship, that sounds like a tough schedule. If you just have to concentrate on football, it's easier for these guys. So that I understand. Now we'll see if the games are a little harder, because that part I'm sure is different. But talking to the Georgia Bulldogs, according to Michigan Wolverine Brandon Graham, right now it's been easier for the Bulldogs to be NFL players as opposed to being college players. Fascinating. I mentioned the thing earlier about Devontae Smith and the sleep. That was odd. Like I said, he doesn't take naps, but 4 hours of sleep does not seem like enough for a professional athlete. So I'm going to go ahead and trust him on that. He talked about yesterday things he's learned from A.J. Brown, like quick hands at the line of scrimmage, and also late hands, showing where that ball is going to be dropping in perfectly from Jalen Hurts. So there you go. That was something that jumped out at me about the Devontae Smith, and they said they asked him about the comments that we talked about on this show of Darius Slay, talking about how it's not going to be long before we're talking about Devontae Smith as the best wide receiver in the NFL. And they asked Devontae Smith about that. And they said, well, do you think that's, how does that make you feel that Darius Slay says that about you? And he goes, Darius Slay and James Bradbury, these guys are great, and everybody's great, and we're all great, and we all love each other. We're all great. Everything's great. But he didn't really go into specifics. So the follow-up question was, well, do you believe him when he says that you're going to be, it's not going to be long before we're talking about you as the best wide receiver in the NFL? Devontae Smith's quote to respond to such an allegation. Make sure I get this right. I'm going to make sure I get this right for you wonderful people. What the hell? I'm all over the place today with this. The 2 legal pad thing. It's just really throwing my game off. Miss Guzzi. Who even uses legal pads anymore? What am I, 100 years old? Okay, here we go. When they asked Devontae Smith about Darius Slay's comment, and they followed up and said, well, are you going to be the best wide receiver in the NFL someday? And he said, well, you just have to watch this year and find out. Love it. Absolutely love it. One of the things that actually came under some criticism in camp was James Bradbury playing the slot position. When James Bradbury was addressing the media yesterday, he was asked if he ever played slot before. And he said, like being labeled a slot, like actually going out there and being a slot receiver. No, he goes, sometimes in zone or man to man, of course, you got to come over and follow somebody. You got to follow a receiver that all of a sudden winds up in the slot. You're inside, but you're not necessarily like the nickel corner in that scenario. So there I am, finding myself in that spot, but I've never been like, all right, you're going to be nickel in this spot here, so let's run that. It's never been that before. This is like the first time. He said he messed around a little bit in Carolina, which is with the Panthers. But the Sean Desai, the Eagles' new defense coordinator, has actually put him in that position during training camp. And he was asked about the kind of versatility that brings to the table and how much that helps his defense. And he said it's almost a necessity nowadays, James Bradbury, almost a necessity nowadays to be able to have that kind of versatility.
I think it suits it. And I think that's why also like having me take some reps in there can help us in the future, because you just never know how, because offenses are they're so developed. You know, they got so many weapons on teams like with tight ends, and they got bigger receivers. They line up guys wherever. They also line up receivers in the backfield. So having a corner, a bigger corner that can line up inside and take nickel reps or even line up as safety, I feel like it helps you as a play caller.
Whatever helps, man. Versatility, we have learned time and time again. No better example than the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl winning team. You need versatility from everybody because you never know who you're going to lose at any given moment. And if you're going to be put in a position, look, every offensive coordinator is looking at the Eagles' defensive backs. And they're looking at Darius Slay, looking at James Bradbury, looking at Avonte Maddox, and they're like, all right, this secondary is pretty damn good. They're going to look at the safety position. We'll still see what happens with the safety position. But they're going to be looking at this, and they're going to, okay, how can we get them uncomfortable? What do they not do well? Well, if they're comfortable in every facet of the game and they're very versatile, well, that makes it a lot harder to game plan against them. So when I saw that and said, well, isn't this what training camp is for? To get guys a little uncomfortable? Isn't this what training camp is for? Is to get guys used to something that they might not be doing regularly, that they're not going to do. Hopefully they don't do in a regular season game. But in case they have to do it, in case the Eagles do have to call upon an emergency and break glass, and behind it is James Bradbury, the nickel corner, then you got to do it. Maybe not for an extended period of time, because I think he's great on the outside. But if you have him in a scenario where he's going to be following somebody, like they like a matchup, for instance, CeeDee Lamb, for instance, going in the slot, they might want to have James Bradbury on him in that spot. All the more reason to have him in that spot. Also, guys like Darius Slay, he's not getting any younger. You're going to have that versatility there no matter what. Plus, it's going to be a lot easier for some of these guys to play on the outside. Maybe that's where they're used to playing. They'll see what happens with some of these other corners after cuts tomorrow. And the final cut down is tomorrow, by the way, Tuesday. So the more versatility you have, the better. I think everyone should know that the NFL level, and James Bradbury talking about it as well, is something that I think only helps this defense. One more thing. Actually, no, two more things in the NFL world. One involves the Cowboys. One involves the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's talk first about the Dallas Cowboys. So they traded for Trey Lance yesterday. They traded for Trey Lance, and afterwards, Jerry Jones was addressing the media. So Trey Lance right now is away from the 49ers, and he's with the Cowboys as their new backup quarterback to Dak Prescott. As if trading for a top pick, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now in the NFL draft in Trey Lance, as if trading for him, a guy that was supposed to be a starter last year, was a starter last year before he got hurt, as if trading for him wasn't enough of a shot to the ego of Dak Prescott. Like, hey, we believe in you, but we got this guy right here. As if that wasn't enough. Jerry Jones hinted. He didn't say the name Jalen Hurts, but we all know what he was talking about. I'll let you hear what you can make your own decision. But he also said that the Eagles were looking at drafting Jalen Hurts in 2020, when Dak Prescott at that point in his career had already been a Pro Bowler, had already taken his team to the playoffs twice, I believe it was, winning one. He already had a playoff win under his belt, and was, of course, the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and a Pro Bowler his rookie season as well. And they were already thinking about, well, let's get a backup quarterback. I mean, the Eagles did the same thing and it worked out for them. But I don't think Dak Prescott is anything like Carson Wentz. By the way, more on Carson Wentz in a minute. But I just found that very interesting that the Cowboys basically through their actions show that they really don't have a lot of confidence in Dak Prescott. Ain't that hilarious? So anyway, they make the trade. Dak Prescott addresses the media, says all the right things. Jerry Jones addresses the media and then leads you to believe that they had even more doubt dating back even further in Dak Prescott. Here's Jerry Jones yesterday addressing the media.
So we're excited about it. I think had we been able to draft him with next year's 4, the kind of talent he was in this draft, like I just told you 2 years ago, we were looking at Philadelphia quarterback, I'm not going to call any names, but looking at him. Had he fallen to us there, we would have drafted him. It is our plan when we can, but it very seldom happens to have someone of high enough quality to be there at the right place with our draft pick.
This is hilarious to me. Oh, God, it's so much fun to point and laugh at the Cowboys. Oh, it's so much fun. Now, look, a lot of teams were looking at Jalen Hurts. Of course, a lot of teams were looking at Jalen Hurts, all right? But the fact that he revealed that at the time they go and get Trey Lance lets you know that along the way, they really haven't had a lot of confidence in Dak Prescott. Ain't that a shame? And this is after Cooper Rush went out last year and won you, 4 games filling in for Dak Prescott? Oh, it shows that they don't have a ton of confidence in the guy that is going to be their starting quarterback. And now they look, you always need to have a backup. You always have to have a backup. Absolutely have to have a backup. Nobody knows that better than any Philadelphian. But I just thought, wow, Jerry, even now? Even now, after you already traded for a guy that some other people now in Dallas, if things do hit the fan, which they're gonna, let's see what Trey Lance has got. What was Dak Prescott, a 4th-round pick? Hey, who cares, right? He's went on his that Pro Bowl career. He's signed himself a nice contract. You always have to have a backup. And, man, to reveal that, even then, Jalen Hurts, a guy that is, the runner-up to the MVP last year. He's made a Super Bowl appearance already. It's always nice to have a backup. But to bring in one and reference another, okay, Dak, you're on solid footing in Dallas. You're on solid footing. Go get him, sport. God, I love the dumpster fire that the Cowboys are. Every year, they never disappoint. And they never disappoint when you have the expectation that they're going to be a dumpster fire. They never disappoint. Finally, one last thing in the football world there. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN let it be known yesterday that the Kansas City Chiefs have supposedly kicked the tires on Carson Wentz. Now, it was a very general report. They were said to have interest, okay? Blaine Gabbert now and obviously Patrick Mahomes are the quarterbacks, so I don't really – as of right now, they seem like they're happy with that. But Jeremy Fowler let it be known at least that the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid and company, have at least glanced over at the idea of Carson Wentz possibly joining that squad. I'm filing this under, this is just something worth mentioning so people know the information in case they haven't seen it yet over the weekend. But I don't care. People might have some opinion on Andy Reid and Carson Wentz. I don't care. If Andy Reid was looking for a starting quarterback, well, then, yeah, maybe I'd take a little more interest to it. But I don't think that Andy Reid's going to crack the code of Carson Wentz. And I don't think that Patrick Mahomes is going to be like losing his job anytime soon. God forbid any injury happens to any player ever. But that's, to me, that's, that happened. That's not like, Carson Wentz going to get his career rejuvenated by Andy Reid. No, just, wow, that'd be funny. And that's pretty much it. That's all I got for you there. But yeah, Carson Wentz might add to his collection of uniform apparel with Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know. He's got the Eagles helmet. He's got the Colts shorts. And what was it? The Commanders practice jersey? Was that the order? Now he might add a Chiefs, I don't know, red cleats. I don't know what he would add next. But yeah, so that came out over the weekend as well. Cut down day tomorrow. Let's see what you beautiful people are saying today in our chat check. See how you guys are doing on this fine weekend. I'm going to start it off on the Farzy Show page up here. Sean Kilrain, what's going on? How about those fighting Phils? Ring the bell. Damn right, baby. Sean Kilrain. Wheeler and Nola, release the hounds. I want to see dominance. Like you said, Farzy, absolutely. Mia Sanchez, what's going on? Phillies have owned the Cardinals since the top of the ninth inning in Game 1 in 2022. That was crazy. Still a little skeptical about September, but this team seems different. At least 91 wins this year. Let's go Fightins. Yeah, let's go Fightins. 72 wins right now on the season. August 28th. Let's do it. Let's get nuts. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Still too close to the standings, but the Phillies can say, yeah, they can. Absolutely. Professor Dutch, good morning. Smoked sausage, farm fresh eggs, tomatoes. Is that what we're saying? Taters, peppers, onion, spinach, and hot sauce with a smoothie of V8 energy. Are you, Professor Dutch, do you follow like a health show? Oh, is that your performance enhancing drug? Because I was talking about espresso earlier. Imagine my brief joy when I discovered Post Malone covered Hootie in the Blowfish, and then my intense disappointment learning he's a Dallas fan. What? Professor Dutch, are we on the same page here? April! Why isn't this working? April! The heck is it? There we are. What a great weekend of baseball. Absolutely, April. Absolutely. Rick Toby, you're the first one to say it. Got to re-sign Nola in the offseason. I knew this question was going to get brought up. Look, I think the Phillies want Aaron Nola back still. I don't think a 4.60 ERA for most of the season has deterred them from wanting to bring him back. And the bottom line is, if the Phillies are in the playoffs and he pitches great in the playoffs, he's going to get a nice deal in the offseason. I still don't think, because of his inconsistency, I don't think we're looking at like a huge mega Kajunga deal here for Aaron Nola. I think we're going to be looking somewhere around the range of like a Zach Wheeler, that kind of money. But I don't think it's going to be it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be cheap, but I don't think it's going to be like some kind of record-setting deal. Like, I don't think he's going to get offers like that. But I think the Phillies are going to re-sign him. If you're asking me right now, I think the Phillies are re-signing him, and I don't think it's going to be a mega huge deal. If he goes on and he dominates in the playoffs and he has like a Cole Hamels run in the postseason, well, then that's a different story. Then he might make the mega huge Kajunga deal. And then the Phillies are going to really have to rely on Andrew Painter being cheap for the next like 5-6 years. That's what they're going to have to rely on. Save some money with the lineup they have right now and all that stuff. But as of right now, I am still for bringing Aaron Nola back, but I don't think it's going to be an absurd amount of money. If it's an absurd amount of money, then no, I don't want Aaron Nola back. But if he pitches like this for the rest of the season, and it doesn't have to be 7 scoreless every time. I know that's not happening. But if he continues to give you 6 innings, 2 runs, if he gives you 7 innings, 2 runs, 3 runs, the lineup's mashing, he allows a couple more runs late in the game, he gets through the lineup 3 or 4 times without having that blow-up inning like he's been able to avoid in his last 2 starts, then you're absolutely going to be bringing him back. But I don't think you're going to be seeing a guy that's going to make record-setting money, franchise-crippling money, for the foreseeable future. But yeah, I know that's going to be a big question. What do we got? A lot of idiots have been down on Nola this year. Well, I mean, they're not idiots. He hasn't pitched well. Rick says, a lot of idiots have been down on Nola this season instead of looking at his entire body of work and realizing he's the guy that needs to stay in Phillies uniform. He's a Philly through and through. I understand what you're saying, Rick, but it's a very inconsistent career for Aaron Nola. I mean, I've talked about it a lot before. You're talking about a guy that's a Cy Young contender, and then you're talking about a guy who just looks like a 4th starter, best a 3rd starter in a rotation. So I think that's what people are focusing on. Did you see the dugout necklace antics with Alvarado? What a bunch of sweet boys who are poised to make another postseason run. I've seen the Alvarado necklaces. That's pretty cool, if that's what you're talking about. Professor Dutz, it was just at Slantington Farmers Market. Slantington? I don't know. Slatington? All the food is excellent except for the cherries. They have a strange taste. I hope I don't waste $4 on sprayed fruit. Professor Dutch, you're on with it. Shohei Ohtani isn't playing, right? No, I think he's playing. He's just not pitching. Go for the sweep. Sean Gillespie, Brandon Graham has emotional intelligence. So Castellanos homers yesterday on the same day Bob Barker died. Womp, 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 womp. It hit exactly 100 miles per hour. Didn't go over $1. Oh, Bob Barker, man. It's a shame is what it is. I mean, wasn't it 99 years old? I'd sign up for 99 years old. You're very kind, Professor Dutch. As far as you're very kind. Thank you, bud. Appreciate it. Oh, we do need to get Broads back on the show. I haven't had Broads on a while. Yeah, we'll get him on soon. Yeah, we love Broads. April, the poop show that is the Cowboys brings me so much joy. Time and time again. Oh, geez. Could you imagine Travis Kelce playing with Wentz? He'd lose his mind. I want to see Travis. Now, April, with that thought in mind, I want to see Travis Kelce play with Carson Wentz. Don't sleep on Andy Reid's quarterback skills, says Sean Gillespie. I know. I just don't think it's happening. Let's get over to Jacob Media, see what you wonderful people are saying over there at Jacob Media. Gifford Hall. Gifford? What's up, Gifford Hall? Stop bringing up old stuff. Of course, the Cowboys had interest in Jalen Hurts. They interviewed him, but y'all snatched in the second round, and the rest is history. Let it go. I did let it go. I didn't care until the Cowboys brought it up. Jerry Jones is the one that brought it back. Phillies playing some baseball right now. Playoff Daz, what's going on, Daz? Phillies playing some playoff baseball right now. Love to see it. This squad is so good together. They are good together. They're lovely together. You can tell these dudes love playing antics. Oh, analytics say put your most dangerous hitter at leadoff. This is 2023, no longer the 2000s. Well, I mean, it goes far before the 2000s. Schwarber has 100 walks as well. Yeah, look, there's such a point counterpoint with Kyle Schwarber. It would go along the lines of he's only batting 189. It's like, yeah, but he's got 336 on base percentage. Got over 100 walks. Yeah, he's on pace to strike out another career high plus 200 strikeout season. You know, it keeps on going like that. He doesn't hit for average. Yeah, he hits 40 home runs with the on-base percentage of 330. So it's like easy to go back and forth with that. But overall, let's talk about the biggest stat and the easiest analytic you can look at, wins and losses. And the Phillies win a poop ton of games when he's leading off. Mullet Alvarado. What's going on, Mullet Alvarado? Nice to see you, bud. If anyone can fix Wentz, it's Big Red. Meh. Dylan, what's up, Dylan? Tuning in from Boise. Nice to see you again. Time Traveler. I'm sorry, is this anything close to do with New England or baseball? That's 2 strikes. I'm from Kansas City. What? Anyone else think that when you die, you just cease like you... What? I asked that as a Chiefs fan in Kansas City with no interest in baseball. Okay. I'll read your full comment here, okay? Let's see if I get this right, okay? Anyone else think that when you die, you just cease like you were before you were born and alive? But the fact that you were born and will die are both out of your control. So you have meaning. When you're sipping your coffee this morning, when you're having your eggs, Professor Dutch, when you're having a plethora of fruits, think about that. Yeah, I think about it. I think we all think about it. Thank you, Time Traveler. Don't you have the answer, Time Traveler? Do a little traveling through time. Let me know what's what. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are fantastic. Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. Pretty much hit all the subjects I wanted to hit today, but the Angels are in South Philadelphia. The 63 and 68 Angels, they doubled down And they got Lucas Giolito, by the way, who's going to be pitching against the Phillies today. He's going to go up against Taijuan Walker. They doubled down and got him at the trade deadline. Things have not worked out for the Angels since the trade deadline. Trout's still hurt. Shohei Ohtani's not playing because of the UCL tear. Or excuse me, not pitching because of the UCL tear. He'll be in the lineup. Taijuan Walker starts 13-5 on the season with a 4.02 ERA. Giolito gets the start for the Angels there. He's 7-10 with a 4.32 ERA. Giolito is coming off a start against the Cincinnati Reds where he allowed only one earned run, but 4 runs in total, 5 hits, 6 innings of work, and he did give up a home run and 2 walks in that game, but he struck out 9. Phillies had faced him earlier in the season, and they were able to, I think they had some success against him when he was with the White Sox. It was, I think, his 3rd start of the year. Yeah, no, he had success against them. Excuse me. He went 6 scoreless against them in Chicago, and it was a 3-0 loss that the Phillies suffered. It was Giolito's first win of the season. So that's how that shook out. But so far with the Angels, he had one horrific start, and that was against the Braves, but who hasn't? He allowed 9 runs in that start, but that was at the beginning of August, and he's been a much better pitcher since then. 3 runs, 4 runs, 1 run. All 6 innings of work over his last 3 starts, allowing no more than 4 runs in all of those appearances. Taijuan Walker gets the ball for the Phillies tonight. 6:40 start time in South Philadelphia. So we have that to look forward to, and hopefully the Phillies will start it off with another game 1 win in a series. So I'll cross my fingers if that's the case. Mark got that stoner algorithm. Thank you, April. Hey, I appreciate all you guys. You guys are great. Be back with you guys tomorrow for the Farzy Show. Also, be back at 8:30 today with Jody McDonald on Birds 365. We'll be filling in for Johnny Mack as he has his preseason responsibilities. So I'll be in the saddle again today at 8:30 with Jody McDonald right here on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Everyone on Farzy Show YouTube channel, thank you so much. You guys are great. Jacob Media, you guys are fantastic. Also, catch you guys a little bit later today at 8:30 with Jody McDonald for Birds 365. And then again tonight on Jacob Media for the Fighting's post-game show, hopefully talking about another Phillies victory and another dominant start by a Philadelphia Phillies pitcher. We'll get to Taijuan Walker tonight. See you guys then. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. Jim Hyden produced the program, did a great job. And I have to make sure that I hit the button because Jim is still out of town. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. See you in a little bit. Bye.